In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to use these things here, which are threaded rivets, and they're useful for placing into sheet material where you need to be able to screw something and you don't have access to the back, which is my current problem. And you use something like this, which looks like a typical rivet gun, however it has different threaded attachments. This section here threads into position and it is done counterclockwise, and then you use a spanner just to gently tighten it up. And I normally hold this section here, which allows that to turn and rotate, in my engineer's vise. Then this section up here, the nut, knurled nut, screws into position and provides a solid surface for the flange to rest against when the tool is being used. The reason I'm using, or I'm about to use, these fixings is I have to take this CNC laser adapter off so that I can check that it's not fried. And when I was building my enclosure, I did the stupid thing of fixing directly through the galvanized backing plate with nuts at the back. I don't really want to disconnect the wires to access the back, so I was able to unscrew it very carefully, and I'm going to resize the holes and fit these in position there. And in retrospect, it's what I should have done, I think, at the beginning, and what I will recommend in documentation for this I'm doing at the moment. The first thing I need to do is resize these 4.5mm holes to 6, but I need to make sure that no metal filings from the drilling process go anywhere else, so I don't accidentally short my electronics. And I'll do that by creating a little cardboard housing and then using my extractor to try and catch any swarf. This is just the top of a box of tea. Typical. I can't find a 6mm drill bit, so I'm using a 5.5 jobber bit and reaming it up to 6. Okay, so that should fit in there. Your breathing technique while using any hand tool is very important. If you breathe correctly, you can summon the power of your inner Karate Kid. Oh, completely missed the hole there, so I think what I'm going to do is thread it only halfway so I can get the arms of the rivet gun a bit closer together. And then, so that shouldn't have made that sound. And what I've done is accidentally pulled some of the threads in the rivet nut itself, but the nut seems to have seated tightly in place, so what I'll do later is use an M4 spiral tap to save the insert. I am, after all, only holding a small electrical component which doesn't need to be flattened like pita bread. I then drilled and reamed the other remaining holes to size before having another go. I'm going to make sure that the tip of the threaded bar just pops past the end of the rivet because it's not threaded all the way along. Okay, that's a good one. Well, actually I'm not sure. The little bit of metal was in the thread of the mandrel, so I think I've threaded that one as well. Lockdown has seen me really get into cooking for one, and well, I've eaten so well, I really don't know my own strength. So I've got all 4 in. Had a little bit of an accident with this one where I managed to actually break the mandrel. Fuck's sake. You can see broken here. So I think when you're using a tool like this, you just have to be careful that you don't over squeeze. I think if I had a bit more time, I would use some sort of hand nibbler to make a little notch, because in reality I think something like this, if you had a square opening, it's less likely to spin once it's kind of squeezed into the shape. But luckily I managed to get the bit out. I drilled it out and was going to use a thread removing tool, but somehow I managed to drive it all the way through and it dropped around the back. And then the last thing was to use an M4 spiral bit to just re-thread these to make sure that I could actually put some machine screws. And I'm not going to film that because I've already done it. And again, I made sure I collected anything that might come out. So now I can secure this back on. There's a lot of different types of rivet nutters. I had bought mine some years ago, and it's similar to the AK393 by Sealy, which according to their instructions can only be used with the aluminium rivet nuts. It also doesn't have an adjustable stop to prevent you from over tightening, but it wouldn't be too difficult to drill a hole somewhere onto the handle and add a riv-nut with an adjustable screw. If only I had another spare one. And that goes back in there. So I can reconnect everything as I need. But I think there's something wrong with this. I did try to open it, but the on-off key is actually soldered on, which means I can't actually undo it and see the front of the circuitry to see whether I've actually buggered something up. But in any case, insert rivet nuts are very useful, and hopefully this video showed you how to use them and what mistakes not to make.